Hello and welcome to Playtime with Rufus, a spiritual and metaphysical podcast unlike any other. My name is Mario Radinger, and alongside my dear friend and colleague Émilie, we invite you on a fascinating journey into the vast and limitless fields of consciousness, higher wisdom, and extraordinary insights to help you live a more fulfilling, joyful, and authentic life. Émilie and I are both quantum hypnosis specialists and Akashic record readers. Through our practice, we help individuals connect directly with their higher self to receive their soul's innate wisdom using hypnosis. Additionally, we tap into higher dimensions ourselves by connecting with the universal energetic library of life, the so-called Akashic records, to access profound guidance and insights for others. And here's where this podcast gets truly unique. There's actually a third co-creator, Rufus. But Rufus isn't human like Émilie or me. Rufus is a higher dimensional, non-physical being or group channeled through Émilie, which makes it possible for me to talk to them. As you'll witness, Rufus brings astonishing clarity, humor, and depth to our conversations, offering insights far beyond the ordinary human perspective. To facilitate this, we use a unique quantum hypnosis process designed specifically to help Émilie connect with Rufus. At the very start of our collaboration, Rufus made it clear that they have a specific intention behind working with us, to help us better understand our human experience here on Earth, so we can live more joyful, fulfilling, and effective lives. So if you're curious about what makes us tick as humans and how to move through life with more clarity, awareness, and joy, then you're definitely in the right place. Be prepared to have your mind blown by Rufus' fascinating perspective, incredible wisdom, and witty charm. Now, you might be curious how all of this came about. Well, Émilie and I first met in 2019 at a hypnosis conference in Egypt. During this event, Émilie had her first quantum hypnosis session facilitated by me, initially focused solely on personal issues. It was in this session that I came into contact with Rufus for the very first time, thinking at the time it was Émilie's higher self that I was talking to. After another personal session for Émilie in early 2024, in which contact with what I still thought was her higher self was reestablished and deepened, Émilie and I decided to embark on a private metaphysical research project together. Our original intention was to compile the insights into a book, if the material was to turn out interesting. However, the conversations with the consciousness that eventually introduced itself as Rufus quickly became so fascinating and profoundly impactful on our daily lives that we felt compelled to share them more directly with others. And so, the idea for the podcast was born. We actually plan to dive more deeply into our origin story in a dedicated future episode, so stay tuned. But for now, here's what to expect from the podcast. In each episode, you'll hear real, recorded, full conversations with Rufus, all of which take place while Émilie is in a very deep hypnotic trance. In fact, she's so unconscious during the sessions that I often need to fill her in afterward on what was discussed. A few quick notes before we dive in. Audio quality. Since these early conversations weren't initially recorded with the podcast in mind, we used equipment adequate for our private research, but not necessarily meeting professional podcast standards. Therefore, you might notice some variability in audio quality. Thanks in advance for rolling with it. Episode length. Some of the early episodes can at times run quite long, up to 2.5 hours. This is because we try to maximize our limited opportunities to speak with Rufus, as Émilie and I both have very busy lives and it's not always easy to maintain a regular rhythm for our sessions. Recognizing that listeners often prefer shorter episodes, we eventually settled on a 2-hour cap, balancing depth with digestibility. That, however, did not happen until after the first 10 or so episodes, so there are some longer ones in there. Language. Neither Émilie nor I are native English speakers. Émilie's native language is French and mine is German. English is our common language, which can occasionally present some linguistic challenges. Interestingly, this limitation also affects Rufus, who relies on Émilie's subconscious vocabulary to convey complex ideas. So expect occasional creative expressions or charming linguistic quirks. About Rufus. You may have already noticed that I refer to Rufus as they. Well, there's a fascinating reason for this, which you'll discover in our conversations. Let's keep it a surprise for now. Sprinkled throughout the material, you'll notice moments where personal issues come up. We've deliberately chosen to leave those in, as we feel they may resonate with those of you navigating similar experiences. Plus, they beautifully connect the higher wisdom of Rufus with our grounded human everyday lives. As we embark on this adventure, you'll witness the evolution of this project in real time. not just from book to podcast, but also from setting initial parameters to diving deeper and deeper into our understanding of Rufus' wisdom. For instance, you'll hear me asking Rufus their name for the very first time in episode 1. We chose to include those first conversations to show you how it all began and to give you the chance to experience this journey right from the first words that were exchanged. Fun fact, if you're following the episodes as they are released, you are exploring the material at the same time Émilie does. Because she is in an unconscious state while channeling Rufus and prefers to remain uninformed about what was discussed to keep her mind as clear and uninfluenced as possible, Émilie chooses to discover the content only once the episodes are published, just like you. To me personally, that makes the journey all the more exciting and surprising for both of you. Since you're listening to this first episode right now, we wholeheartedly recommend starting right here at the beginning of the journey and continuing chronologically. The material builds naturally over time, with each episode adding new layers of insight. So for the richest experience, it's best to follow along in consecutive order. Finally, a gentle reminder, take what resonates with you and feel free to leave the rest behind. All information shared here by Rufus is meant to inspire and inform, not to replace personal responsibility or professional guidance. Know that your choices remain your own, always. All right, and now buckle up and get ready for a mind-expanding journey. We're so glad you're here with us. And if you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who's just as curious about consciousness, spirituality, and metaphysics as we are. Again, thank you for being here. Let's dive in now. And remember, this is Playtime with Rufus, where higher wisdom meets human curiosity. I now ask the highest consciousness available to us here today to begin integrating themselves into Émilie's body so that we can work together and talk to each other today. May I speak to the highest available consciousness? Thank you so much. Do I have permission to ask questions? Thank you. Please take your time if necessary to integrate into the body and let me know if there is anything we can do to make it easier for you.
It's okay.
Very good. Is there anything we can do to make it more comfortable for Émilie at this point?
Okay.
All right. Well, it's wonderful to talk to you. Thank you for coming in.
Yes, you're very welcome.
And to start with, who am I speaking to here today? Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, I believe that you can call us maybe a group, a collective, consciousness, togetherness, mind gathering. It depends what you would like to choose, but the idea is about the same. We are basically, in your point of view, plural, not just one, but in our point of view, we make one. If that makes sense?
It does.
Then that's what we are right now. You could call us Rufus. Rufus is nice.
Say that again, please.
Rufus.
Rufus.
This was nice. It resonates with all of us right now. That's a good way to put a name, maybe. Even if it's not a name as you define name, but that would do for conversation if a name is needed. Rufus is good.
Very good. How would you spell this name in our language?
Maybe an R. U.
Mhm. Why do you feel this sound is an appropriate representation?
Apparently, it carries a frequency that will match our own right now. If we were to come up with something that could represent us in terms of frequency of a sound, that would be a good one to go with.
Wonderful. We will use this name.
Very
Thank
well.
you so How would you describe yourself in relation to us as human beings and maybe also in relation to Émilie?
Well, to answer the first part of the question, we will be yourselves without a body, maybe what you call consciousness or higher selves, but we are basically the energy form that is not entered or enveloped in a vehicle that we call the body on Earth. But we will be pretty similar to yourself if you were to be taken out of your own envelope. So maybe essence or energy is just really the word that you have that might be the most appropriate, but it really is you, a version of you that is not incorporated in a body.
Could you be compared to us in between our incarnations?
Yes, yes. Maybe it will be exactly this. Let's say we are not coming on Earth anymore. So we are on what you call the other side. We're very busy though, but we don't need to come and play anymore, at least not on this planet and not in your human shape.
Have you ever?
Some of us, not all of us, express the need to experiment this playtime. But some of us have, and they are glad it is over. And some of us didn't even, I would say, dare to come play. It was not what we were intending to experience for ourselves.
So some of you know what it's like to be human here.
Yes, pretty much. Some of us here know very well what it is like to be in a body in the Earthian playtime.
Is there a direct connection between you and Émilie or not?
Yes, yes. We are directly connected for sure. Regarding Émilie, we've been, let's say, having a conversation with her once. We believe she remembers that. So we are not far and we are constantly waiting for her to open the channel to be able to transmit and communicate with each other. And regarding yourself, we would say that maybe if we are not the group of consciousness that will be attributed to you directly, we are one that are gladly coming to have conversation with you because we can recognize and appreciate your shine and your light, and we can see from where we are that you are really doing good for all of us down here playing this playtime. So we are very pleased and happy, even if we are not directly connected to you, to come and have a conversation as we feel very familiar and we feel that we resonate with your soul and we can have a full understanding because we are aligned, if that makes sense.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I'm glad you're here.
We are too. Some of us would say it's about time.
Émilie mentioned earlier that she felt a poking sensation.
That's how she called it, a poking sensation. Well, let's be it. Well, we've been actually trying to come to her as we felt that she expressed the intention of receiving higher messages and guidance, and feeling that she is being kind of pulled in a direction that she doesn't know how to. So in that sense, she did feel a poking, but we were not really poking. We were just answering her inner calling or inner desire of reaching out to us. We were not the ones poking. She was the one accepting, or the one ready to welcome our conversations. We will not be the one bothering her, poking, or however she likes to call it. We are here. We are doing stuff on our end. But sometimes when some of you guys express the need to reach out and exchange on some deeper conversation or deeper knowledge that you felt limited to have on your own, then we are happy to come and talk to you. So it is not a real poking on our hand. We would not do that. We would not interfere if it was not asked from a human. Does that make sense?
It does. Is this an effect completely based on her free will, or have you been involved in inspiring her to do
Nah,
this?
this is completely up to her. This is really up to her. I feel like, well, I think we could all agree with that. That when somebody is ready to receive, then their free will is asking. It's not because we are pushing that they are ready to receive. It can only come from them, as we are not incarnated. We don't have, let's say, the right, but it's not exactly the same as you know rights. It would not be ethical. This is maybe a better explanation. It would not be ethical for us to force our connection or force our intervention on somebody here. It will have to come from that person, and it will have to be requested by that person in the sense of wanting, desire of establishing a connection. Even if it's not requested verbally, it will have to be intended. And then it opens a, we don't like this word, a channel, but it's not really a channel. It's more of a energy field that we feel it's okay for us to enter and send you what you can translate into words to have conversation or transmission, or what you vulgarly call channeling, which is not to our liking. But yes, it will have to come from the person on earth. And as soon as we feel the intention is there, then we can come and discuss.
I understand. Is the intention enough to make this happen, or
Yes.
is there some form of preparation necessary at times?
No, not at all. The preparation is, well, let us explain. Let's say somebody is willing to, or have the intention on reaching us to have a conversation. There will be no need of a preparation per se, but because you need to catch on our frequency, if you are not able to make room or elevate, let's say, your own frequency to match ours so we can connect on an energy field, then you would need a preparation. But it is not needed if, let's say, the human body is ready to connect and the soul has the intention to connect, then it could be instant. It can happen just like a blink of an eye without having a preparation needed. Does that make sense?
Yes. Emily and I have worked together twice before.
Yes.
Have I spoken to you in any of these instances, or have those energies been different from you?
As we believe that you have indeed spoke to part of I, if that makes sense. So I would say yes. But if you take the us as an I and you name it Rufus, then you would not have spoken to I in my entire being, but only part of I that can be put under the same name, but will not be exactly the same whole. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
One more question regarding what we talked about just before.
Yes.
What would you say to someone who were to ask you how they could elevate their energy or frequency to align with yours?
Wow. There is a lot that can be done on different level as when you're in your playtime, you function on different layers of body, if I may say. So we are right now without a physical body, except from the one we are borrowing from Émilie. You guys have the physical body that is present, but then you have other layers that function together with the physical body. So depending on where you at on your own alignment and your own, we are looking for a word, wholeness, whether you are aware or not of those different bodies and you are able to attend to them as a whole and really work on your different layers, then a lot of different preparation to elevate your frequency can be done. Let us try to explain that a little better because it is complicated to put into words for us, especially the ones she knows. So if a person believes that they are only the body, the preparation will be longer as they will have to first open their heart and their, let's say, all the chakras, as you call them, above the heart to be able to understand that there are more than just bodies. So the preparation will start for them on that level. Understand that there are more than just a physical body. But for other people that, let's say, will be aware of being a soul in a body, then the preparation will start on a different aspect. They would not have to go through the first step, which is recognize that you are way more than just what meets the eye. So they would start with cultivating and attending to their whole being. That could go with what you feed yourself, not just in terms of food, because this would feed your physical body, but in terms of what you listen to, what you say, what you see, what you touch, everything that is linked to the senses, as you call them, can help elevate your frequency because it would feed different aspects of yourself and different layers of bodies. This is really hard for us to explain. So there is a lot that one can be doing to elevate their frequency, but it will really depend on where they start. The main idea will be to fully understand the complexity of what humans are when we're talking about Earthians and their incarnation, because there are so many layers and levels and aspect of a person, as you call it, that there are a lot to be dealing with, and a lot can be done differently to elevate. But the main focus will really be mindful of what you're feeding yourself with. And again, not just food. It could be thoughts, what you're feeding your brain, what kind of thoughts you're telling yourself. It could be relationships, what kind of energy exchange with others you're allowing yourself to give and receive. It could be your surrounding, in what environments you're allowing yourself to experience this playtime. So there is a lot that can be done, and a lot that matters in terms of how to change our frequency. And it goes both ways. I'm sure you understood that. You can easily lower your frequency if you don't pay attention and if you're not careful on how you're feeding yourself. Is it answering your question?
Yes, thank
Good.
you.
You're welcome.
What would be the criteria here, or a compass, so to speak, that one could use to find the right food, in quotation marks, for the senses, or the most conducive food?
I would say, well, first of all, it would be very subjective to the person. Not two persons will be able to feed themselves the same. And secondly, we think that your body will react one way or another to the kind of food in a large sense that you're giving yourself. So it would be good or productive to pay attention to how you're feeling when taking the food. That type of nutrition, for example, if we were using the food as a nutrition, how would it impact your body, your emotion? Would it make you feel good? Would it satisfy yourself? Or would you feel tired? Would you feel bad about yourself? This kind of mindfulness. If what you eat makes you feel good, makes your body feel good, then this is for you. If you're trying, let's say, to be a vegetarian because you believe that being a vegetarian is what needs to be done to raise your frequency, but doing this, you are suffering from the fact that you don't find any pleasure anymore eating food. You're frustrated going to the toilet all the time because you feel like it's too much fiber getting into your body, for instance. Then it will be best for you not to be a vegetarian, but to find a good balance between what you can feed yourself in terms of nutrition and the way it will resonate with you and makes you feel. So you see, there is not just one right way to do things. everything can be right and everything can be wrong depending on the person who is doing it. For Émilie, for instance, she's a vegetarian because when she was eating flesh, something was not resonating with her. But for somebody else, maybe eating veggies will have the exact same effect. And in that case, being a vegetarian will defeat the purpose because it would lower their frequency, even if right now it's trending, let's say, to make everybody believe that there is only one way to get nutrition in order to raise your frequency. Even Émilie has that belief, and we would like to correct her on that point as well, because it is not accurate. At least we don't believe it is. And in terms of relationship, let's say you would feed yourself the right way if the relationship feels good. It is very easy. It is not easy on your part to admit and accept the toxicity of a relationship, but it is very easy to feel it. So if somebody would need to raise their frequency using relationship, all they will have to do is just really acknowledge when they don't feel good themselves at ease, reciprocated, or fulfilled in a relationship, or what we call an energy exchange between two people. So in this way, it's very easy to know what good food is for yourself. It is just harder, apparently, to accept it. And sometimes, because of the type of exchange that is going on, let's say if it's family, you have blood connection, so another energy exchange come into the picture, which makes it even harder to accept and face and deal with. So we do understand that, but it is very easy to feel. So somebody should be able to know what food in this area is good for them. Same with what you're watching or what you're listening to. Sometimes it will make you feel some type of way or makes you feel sad because you need to feel sad. And that could be good. Sometimes it will make you feel happy because you need to be happy, and that could be good. There is no wrong way to go about it. The only wrong way is if you don't feel that what you're watching or listening to at the moment, at the given time, is not resonating with you. This will be very wrong. But it could be completely different the moments you're listening to and 2 minutes later. So let's say if I want to listen to heavy metal right now, but the next few minutes I would like to listen to classical music. There is no wrong answer as long as they both fulfill me and my emotional needs in the time I am listening to it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
you can apply this to pretty much any type of food, and believe us, it is way bigger than just what you guys consider food, because you're forgetting, for most of you, all the food that is coming to you without even knowing you're absorbing it.
Do you have a recommendation for Émilie? Is there anything she can do to make it even easier for her to connect to you?
Well, easier is already pretty much easy. At least we believe so, because every time she take the time to do so, we are here. And she was able to reach out to us. Sometimes she would reach out to part of us, and sometimes she would reach out to the full of us. It will depend on how deep she is willing to have that connection on the day being, but it is fairly, fairly easy for her to do so. The hardest challenge that she is facing right now is how to juggle the different aspect of her being, because we were talking of the different layers of the body, but you also have different layers about you in your playtime, in your action, in your everyday. For example, for yourself, you're a man, you can be a worker, you can be a son, you can be a lover, you can be a friend. You see, you will have different, what is the word you use? Roles or functions in the same playtime. So imagine that you're dealing with different layers of bodies playing different function. The everything on the outside looks like it is one person. Do you understand the difficulty of it?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you do. So it would be fairly easy if she wants to connect with us, but it would be hard for her to organize her different her and make sure that the one her that is just for herself has enough time to play the playtime in this playtime she likes to play at the given moment. This is maybe a complicated explanation, but do you understand?
The last bit, I'm not sure.
Let us rephrase. If she has different function in this playtime, the only part that would make it easy, in quotation, for her to reach us will be if she would give herself enough time to be her function, the function that is just her, not her being a worker, not her being a mom, not her being a wife, not her being a daughter, just her being her.
Right.
So in that playtime, she needs to organize different playtime. It's like this entire Earthian experience is a Russian dolls concept. It's really what it is, but it's a Russian dolls on many aspects of your being, which is fascinating to us. But it's also why it's so complicated for you guys to play it and to play it well so you can be fulfilled with it, if we may say. But regarding your question of how she could make it easy to connect with us, all she will have to do is just give her some to be her and call us if she feels like it. Very simple.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Thank you for that. I'm sure you're aware of the project that Emily and I are embarking on with
Yeah,
this session today.
yeah.
Since you are a part of it as well, do you have any intention for this project? Is there anything you would like to infuse this with?
We believe that we just started too, because we feel like the vision of a human is completely distorted. We feel like this is also part of the reason why this playtime has been endured by so many of you instead of fully be played. Like we started to explain, there are so many dimensions and aspects of the human person because the human person is also not a human person. So there is an entire complexity that lay around it. that we would love to be able to discuss more in order for the humans that are able to receive and understand those concepts to be at ease with the experience they are having right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because this will take a very long time to explain. But if we could draw, I think it will be a good thing to do. Imagine if you have one being, just one, and there's so many of you, but one being in its entire complexity of just being a being, not a human, just a being. So consciousness and energy, knowledge, all this stuff. But now being a human and have an emotional body, a physical body, being connected with a materialistic representation of self and life and all this type of stuff. And then next to this human, you put another one that will have the exact same configuration, but completely different configuration at the same time. And then you start to put them in interaction and you keep on adding and adding and adding. And then on top of that, you add some structures and functions and rules and not dictator, but stuff that you guys don't have power to change on your own scale. This makes the whole situation very complex. And on top of that, you add that all of those humans that are now completely different, playing in a playtime that has many, many layers, will be connected somehow to each other and influencing their lives without even understanding that connection. And we believe that some of it has been exposed to you during one of your sessions. That sometimes people don't see the connection to each other. But let's say right now we're talking through a computer. This computer has been made by many humans. We're talking through headphones. This headphone has been made by many humans. All of this somehow makes connection between humans without even knowing they're connected. Do you see where we're going with all this?
Mm-hmm.
So the complexity of this playtime is on a level that is very hard to see if you don't allow yourself to ask the question, how complex is this? And the answer can go on and on and on, as so many layers are involved in this on so many levels. And we feel like this is the key for some of you guys to understand. Take a step back and relax and be kind to yourself when you feel like you are not completely satisfied with what you're doing, or that you're not pleased with yourself or how you reacted or where you're at in life professionally and yada, yada, yada. This is a nice expression, by the way. Yada, yada, yada. We like it. It feels good also to use. Let's do it again. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah. But anyway, you see, this is very important to keep on spreading love to yourself. Be kind to yourself because there is so many layers. It's so many, not even layers, it's even more than that. So many worlds right now are packed up in one little package that is a human, that you should be very pleased and kind to yourself for being able to put one step forward every day. Keep a smile, be kind to each other, and do what you have to do, even if sometimes it doesn't feel like you're succeeding at it. But somehow, because of the complexity of the task at hand, you should be really proud and really pleased with yourself. And we feel like if we can somehow convey that and really open the vision on what it is to be a human in this playtime, then it will be easier for people to accept the kindness to themselves. And if they do that, automatically the frequency will rise, and automatically, you know what comes next. Everything starts to manifest in a way that would appear easier to them. So this is what we would like to bring down to this playtime, if we may. And somehow there is so much to say about it that it could be complicated for us to put into words. So this is why having conversation can help, because maybe humans hearing it, like yourself, will be able to explain it in a way that your fellow humans could understand it fully. Does that make sense?
It does, I believe. Thank you for this preview of what we're going to talk about. We are happy to offer our service to help bring this information down here, so to speak, and spread it in any way that's appropriate.
Thank you.
And since we decided that this project is going to involve multiple sessions, I hope that we will have enough time to really lay this out in the way that you deem appropriate.
Yes, we are convinced that you would be able to. And we would like to also return the service. So if we can be of any help while you are doing this work, then let us be helpers as well. Because that way, how you call it, you have a expression for it. It's a win-win situation where we can somehow give you part of our own insights, and in exchange, we can help you on some other insight that you may need to have answers on.
Well, thank you so much. We certainly appreciate that. Though I feel like we're already winning by receiving the general information
Great.
that you want to convey to us. But we'll remember this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Before we fully dive into the material, do you have any recommendations or even instructions regarding the setup of this project? We want to make sure that we have Émilie in the most comfortable state and that we're able to receive the highest communication possible. Do you have any suggestions regarding how we are to do this, when or how often, for example?
Well, this really depends on you and how fast you want to gather materials, because we are here, like you already know, because I'm pretty sure that you talked about this in many of your work. The time on our end is completely, let's say, existent. We could definitely be doing this as much or as little as you would like to, because for us, time is irrelevant. So, like you would say, we do have time because we don't have any. But basically, that would really depend on you and Émilie on how often you want to do this, because you will probably have to meditate after the session or really take the time to yourself think about what has been given and go around it, and even on your own, because you are pretty good at doing this, and we are very much encouraging you to continue your work. Then on your own, you could maybe see where points need to be explained a little more in detail or see where points you fully understand. They can elaborate on it in order to transmit it the best way for your fellows. So it would really depend on how you can digest, integrate, and basically comprehend the concept we are sharing with you. But know that if you need to reach us whenever, we will be happy to come and say hi and discuss with you. So this is really not a matter of do we have time to come whenever you are ready for us, because we do. It is just, do you have time to receive us? This is really what it will come down to, because you are the ones playing in a time concept. We are not.
Right. Okay. Are there any certain conditions that need to be met before we start these sessions?
Only condition will be that you do not betray our words and twist them or reinterpret them. But we have a feeling that there is no risk taken here with you and Émilie. We feel that your intentions are really beautiful and pure, and even your actions have been proven that you would like to serve and make this playtime an easier, or let's say more enjoyable one for you and your fellows. So we have no concern about it, but that would be the only point for us to make sure that what we would share will be loyally transmitted.
Yes. We'll make sure of that.
Thank you.
In fact, we will leave your words completely untouched. The way they flow from you will be the way that others will receive them.
Very well. Well, in that case, sometimes we will probably need your help in order to make sure that the way we use them is understandable for everyone. Because this is the tricky part on our hand, to be able to use words to communicate ideas that if we were not using words will be so much easier to communicate and also so much more accurate. Because sometimes you can't describe the feeling, let's say. The words can't describe the feeling. And sometimes if we need to explain concepts, it's about the same. Words cannot always explain a concept, because a concept needs to be explained with much more than just words. Do you understand?
Right. Okay.
So that will probably be something that is not so easy on our end, even if we are quite used now to communicate with humans. We are still not 100% sure of the language we are being given, first of all, how we put it into sentences and how we organize it to deliver the transmission to you. So we'll take the help if needed.
I believe you're doing an excellent job.
Well, thank you.
But yes, I totally understand that this can be difficult at times. And I will also make sure that every time I feel it might be hard for a receiver to understand the information, I will ask you to rephrase.
Yes, as many times as you need to. We'll be happy to find other combinations.
All right. Then there is the aspect of protection. I remember from other material that was gathered over a time in the past, like for example, the Law of One, you might be familiar with this, and
Yes, Ra.
Right, exactly. At the time, protection was a major aspect, and they really emphasized the importance of it to make sure that the material was as pure as possible. Is this also relevant for this project?
We would like to say depends, because protection is needed until it's not needed. Let's explain this. In order to connect with us, you need to be convinced that you're going to connect with higher beings and that you're not going to let the door open to simulation of us. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Let's say when people start doing this transmission, receiving and giving messages type of work with energies that are not incarnated, sometimes because there is a feeling or a thought that come to their mind thinking that the frequency they're going to reach will not be necessarily of pure lights and higher frequency and love energy, then they need a protection to make sure that the material that will be given is all the pure energy. But if you are able to know in your entire being that the answer will match your intention, meaning if you're coming to us with the intention of love and helping and healing and sharing some higher guidance or help to your world, and then you are able to be certain of this intention, this is your protection because we will match it. So you will have no risk, quotation marks, finding some lower energy than what you're supposed to be receiving. Does that make sense?
I think it does, yes.
So
So
that's your protection.
would, for example, the way both of us approached this meeting here today be sufficient?
We believe it would until it was not. It's, let's say, today you both came to us without even thinking for a minute that you could have what we called a joking spirit or a lower energy being or some collective that likes to pretend they're higher than what they are. So because both of you didn't even think about this, you did not open the door for them to come. If one day one of you or both of you has doubt or think about what they could receive coming from a lower kind of energy being, then let us tell you right now, you surely will get message from a lower being.
Mhm.
So it really depends on the two of you and how you come to us. So in that sense, what we're trying to say is you could use protection, because when people use protection, it makes them believe that they are protected, and therefore they have no doubt that they will receive higher energy, you see. But if someone comes already certain that they will have only higher energy coming their way, it's exactly the same as if they were using protection,
Hmm.
because the feeling is already there. So the door to lower being is already closed. Does it make
Right.
sense?
So a protection ritual would be something like a permission slip, so to speak,
Yes,
to allow oneself to be safe.
yes, exactly. It will be exactly like all those work. When we work with energy, once we go to see somebody, you firsthand know it. There is no real hypnosis. It's self-hypnosis. You say it yourself. So basically, it's the same thing. There is no real protection. It's just self-protection. But if you need to go through a ritual in order to bring that certainty of self-protection, then let the ritual be. It's not a problem to us because the results will be the same. But in your case, and in Emily's case, we feel that you are pure enough to be sure that the energy you would get will match your intention. And so you already feel like you had your ritual of protection when you first come to us. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. In this context, a question for the hypnosis work with others, with clients. I usually perform a protection ritual because I can't guarantee that the other person I'm working with brings this belief.
Yeah.
So would in those cases a protection ritual be appropriate?
Yes and no. We will give you the same answer. Let's say if you go to your session and you're convinced that because you are driving the session and your energy is pure and your intention are very clear and higher level, then even if the other person working the session is coming with doubts or bringing lower energy, if you know in your heart that those energy will not come to you, then that's the same as you are achieving doing your protective ritual. Because you are putting your own protection, you are putting your own shine. The light you're using is already in you. So you are your protection. But if having a ritual makes you feel more comfortable and makes you go more confident about having a brighter shine that will protect from lower being, then keep on doing it. There is no harm that comes with it. But we would like to say that you don't need to have one if you are able to understand your intention of being protected by your light with or without the protective rituals is exactly the same.
Right. Okay. I see. Well, thank you for that. That was very interesting. The next aspect would be questions. Is the flow of information from your side bound to questions coming from my side, or are you able to dictate basically the material you want to convey?
We like questions, and we like questions because it's already showing us that you are digesting materials, that you are integrating materials, that you are fully comprehending it. Because when you start the conversation, if you have questions, that means everything we've said before, either you understand it and have no question, either you want to take it further and dip in it, and then you will have a question. Either you did not completely understand it and you will have a question. So it's a good indication on how our messages reach you, if we can say it like that. And also, it's always good for us to have a real conversation and not doing a monologue on our part.
Okay.
Because remember, we are not incarnated right now, meaning we have a completely different perspective than yours. Meaning, if we can understand your point of view, sometimes we will not think of it to start with. So the fact that you call upon us and then ask us questions and phrase it in a way you want to phrase it will also help us understand where you're coming from. Remember that we don't have the same perspective on things right now.
Right. Okay. Do you still have, let's say, for a book, there is a table of content, a list of chapters of
Yes.
what this work contains. Do you still have something like that, like a rough idea of different chapters or themes, topics that you want to talk about?
Not
Oh,
really. We think
okay.
that those could be extracted or found as we go into conversation with your own questions. Because for us, the subject is going to be, let's say it's one subject, it's a whole subject. And because we fully grasp the concept, we don't need to divide it because we already know it. But as we're going to have to explain it, then we're going to realize, since we're using words, that our concept needs to be divided and organized. And like you said, put on into outlines, then into chapters, then into paragraphs, and yada, yada, yada. But this will be better if we will draw it as we speak, because it will be, to be honest, very hard on our end to give you chapters and, let's say, divide somehow the whole concept, because we don't need to simply. So we would need to have somebody in your position, in your playtime, showing us what need to be divided in order to have part of this concept and then parts on parts of the parts. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay, I see. Do you have any preference regarding how this material is to be shared in written form, everything at once at some point, or maybe even earlier sharings of certain bullet points through other channels?
We fully trust you and your team to be able to choose the correct time and the correct media to transmit. We are here to have that conversation with you because we really feel like you're a good, let's say, human to spread this concept. But it would not be good for us to tell you, as non humans, how to spread it. You are the one living this playtime. So your intuition on how and when and to whom, this will be entirely your choice, as we fully trust that you will know and your team will be able to guide you on how, what, when, and to whom you can spread it.
I understand. So there are no mistakes that could be made or wrong
Mm-mm.
ways of sharing. Okay.
Not at all. Not at all.
Right. I think those would be the most important aspects I wanted to ask about. One question regarding the topic of protection. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned trickster or jokester, joking energies, simulations,
Yeah.
pretenders. How would one be able to identify those?
Would it be a trickster if one would be able to?
Well, maybe there are different levels of quality when it comes to tricksters.
We believe that it will be probably in the depth of the message.
Mhm.
Because even if there is some simulation, imitation, jokester, how you want, like kitty, because they are not really bad, they just want to play somehow. Basically, their consciousness will be made of a lower base frequency, not necessarily a lower energy, but a lower base frequency. So that frequency will give their consciousness and their knowledge, if we can use that word, a certain amount of access.
Mhm.
When the frequency is higher, then your access gets bigger. So the easiest way to recognize one higher energy, higher being, higher frequency from a lower one will be the depth of the message.
Okay, that makes sense. In the Law of One, Ra said that one of the main goals of negatively polarized entities is to discredit forces, bodies of material. In other words, to taint the material in a way that it contains maybe wrong information,
Yeah.
so that the entire source or body of work is discredited.
Yes.
Can you confirm that
Oh,
this
yes.
is okay?
Oh, yes, we do confirm. This is why we have some channeler. We don't like that word, but channeler that are actually conveying real messages with a true essence into it. And we have some other channeler that would somehow convey an altered message. And when you receive it, it can be very difficult to separate the two because on the surface, or at least at the very beginning of the transmission, there is no difference in the material. Not really. They both are very thoughtful. They both seem very deep. They both carry messages of usually love. They both have metaphysical explanation. So it's very hard to dissociate one from another. But two things are very, very helpful. The first one, when you are receiving the message, if your intuition, if yourself is feeling some type of way because something, how do you say that, smells fishy, then don't wait anymore. You have your answer. That's the first way to separate the two, your own intuition. The second will be if you have one transmission, two transmission, three transmission, and you feel like it's the same over and over without being rephrased or deepened or detailed or approached differently, then you know that there is no further access to the concept. That would be also a good helper to separate both. It is really hard. We give you that. They do an amazing job at it. They really do.
Very helpful information. Thank you. I once heard about the so-called law of three, I believe, that entities or negatively polarized entities are not able to lie to you 3 times in a row, and that this could be a way to call out a negative entity by, for example, asking them, "Who are you?" Can you confirm this, or is it just a myth?
We are not familiar with this.
Okay.
For us, for what we understand of it, they could lie to their teeth as many times as they would like to if it would serve their purpose. So maybe we don't feel like we're resonating with this. Like it's almost like saying, because like negativity and positivity cannot live without each other somehow. If it's polarized, we need both ends, right? So if you want to spread the light, you need to dim the light at the same time to be able to recognize when light is shining.
Right.
So we would say that if you're restraining their access to their own purpose, it would be almost the same as restraining our access to our own purpose. And we don't believe this is accurate. If one being is to be served, like what we said, the negativity of the polarization, and one being is to be served the positivity of the polarization, then they should be able to both play their part fully without restriction, or at least balance each other. So if you have some very shining being, very light spreading source love and knowledge, it is in our concept impossible to not have the equal playing for the other team, knowing that it's all the same team. But think about the drawing of the yin and the yang. This is very important to understand. If you had only white, no black dots, you could not see a drawing. You could just see white. If you had only black, no white dots, you could not see the drawing either. You would just see black. So the importance of both to exist at the same time is to make the vision beautiful and to really understand that something is being created together. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes.
So we would say we don't believe into this concept.
Well, thank you for sharing your perspective. This question has been on my mind for a long time and now seemed like a good opportunity to ask.
Yes, it is.
All right. I believe that we have covered everything that we need to know to start. I feel that this might be enough for today.
All right.
That next time we will begin directly with the material.
Sounds good.
This gives us opportunity to go through everything you already explained and align our intention and preparation appropriately. Unless there is something that you would like to add, anything that you feel we should need or know at this time.
Beside our gratitude right now, we feel like your rhythm is ours. We are pleased with this exchange. We are pleased with your intention. We are always happy to come discuss with you. We are pleased that Émilie is willing to give us access to her body right now, although we would not love to stay in there for too long because it is much better without one. But we are very pleased that you decided to do this work. So we don't have anything to add right now, as we surely know we're going to have plenty of other opportunity to go deeper and deeper into material and to get to know you better at the same time.
Likewise. It's very interesting that when I was taking some time before we started today to write down any questions that I might want to ask, the only topical question I wrote down was, how would you describe our existence as human beings on Earth? Yeah.
I believe your intention was heard. And we are pleased to go in detail into that question, as we feel like this is also what we are trying to help you guys with. So this is what we call perfect synchronicity and perfect alignment on both parts.
Indeed. And I feel that this information is going to reach us at just the right time.
Yeah.
If one can say that.
Yes, you can, because you have one. You have time.
All right, then we will close for today, and I look forward to our next meeting.
Us too.
We thank Rufus for the information and support they have given us. With much love and deep gratitude, we are asking all energies and beings to recede to where they usually reside.